Hi, I'm Kristen Snyder from the Popcorn Talk, and we're discussing The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened. I'm here with director Jon Schnepp.
Hey, what's going on?
And Holly Payne, the producer.
Hi.
So I went to the screening last week. I really enjoyed this film.
Awesome.
I want to see it in theaters so badly, and I want to know just where the rights are right now as far as like, could it be a crowd-funded like Kickstarter like they did with Veronica Mars? Because I know you said that it ended perfectly where it is, but I think people would appreciate still seeing it today.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know. So I can hold this popcorn. I don't know, a lot of people keep asking us, they'd love to see an animated version of Superman Lives, or would Tim Burton return to Superman? I think it's a product of its time, and it's I think the creative energy that was there ended when the plug was pulled, and that's where it should be, and that's where it is now. And they've gone on different iterations. You have the Man of Steel, and now you have Batman v Superman, and this entire new cinematic universe, which it sounds and looks really cool to me, and I'm excited to see all these characters on the big screen. For me, the exploration was really just about the what if and what could have been, and it took a long time to get to it, and it was great to be able to not only unearth this amazing artwork, but to share it with the people who worked on the film, and to kind of be a closure unit for those people, which at first wasn't the idea behind the film, but it naturally happened that way.
Yeah, it organically happened that way. But to your point, or to your question about wanting to see it now, you can't. I mean, honestly, it's impossible. It really is. It's fundamentally impossible because you wouldn't have Tim Burton directing. You wouldn't have Nicolas Cage back in 1998. You wouldn't have those artists necessarily. You wouldn't have that team. So you could make a Superman Lives-esque sort of, interpretation, but you could never make Superman Lives.
Right. You wouldn't have Christopher Walken and Kevin Spacey as Luthor with their heads merged, arguing, "I'm going to kill Superman." No, you're not. Or whatever. I mean, those are the kinds of things that are just now open to all of us to think about, which I think is a great thing. And that's what I think my walk away from making the documentary is hey, creativity is there in every facet of every single thing that anyone ever makes. And movies that get shuttered doesn't necessarily mean it was going to be a bad thing. It's just business. And that's what people always forget about with movies and TV, entertainment in general. It's a business. And then some things happen, some things don't happen. But for me, I wanted to explore this film because I always thought there was something there, and I'm happy I did.
One more thing to add too. What's cool though is that the reactions to the film, like yours, is that people would like to have seen, or would still like to see, risks taken like that, which is the most satisfying part of it, which is really cool. It's wow, that would have been really neat to see. Why don't we see anything like that? Why is Superman the same in almost everything? I mean, even the Man of Steel lately, it's still using the same sort of tropes. This would have been off the planet and out in space with crazy monsters. So
thanks. I really feel though you guys did a great exploration of the film, to the point that we got to see how the script would have gone and the different stories it took. And I want to talk about how this was, yes, a Tim Burton take on the story, and just Nicolas Cage in a Mickey shirt and a suit. I mean, yeah, I think right now our generation, we're exploring, our minds are opening. I think we're definitely ready for that Superman that's a little offbeat. I mean, that's what we like, the villains with the scars. They have more of a backstory. We can't really relate to the Superman who's perfect and doesn't have any problems. It's not really relatable. So it's that's not what we're attracted to right now. So when you guys started this, what was your vision and how did that change?
Well, it's good that you mentioned that. For me, the vision of when I started, I was interested in what the concepts and the art was, that I hadn't seen. And then upon getting a lot of that, and then talking with the artists, talking with Tim Burton, talking with Lorenzo de Bonaventura, John Peters, just talking with all the writers, Kevin Smith, Wesley Strick, Dan Gilroy, you get this more rounded feeling of what they were trying to explore. And mainly what you touched on is Nicolas Cage with the Mickey Mouse shirt, trying to explore what it was about Clark Kent and that he was hiding. That all of the characters of Superman are constantly hiding. Clark Kent is hiding that he's an alien. Superman is hiding that he's Clark Kent. So it's that exploration that I think me as a comic book reader and a lot of other comic book fans this would have been a Superman that you would have connected with, because it wasn't a god floating in the sky. It was a person who was bullied and scared and frightened, and you would empathize with this person who didn't feel like they fit in, because comic book readers never felt like they fit in. They were constantly made fun of in high school, or if you were this is back in the 1996, 97, 98, not now where everybody's a nerd and I love superhero movies. It's different. This is a different time period where people are like, hey, if you read comics, you get made fun of. So I think this Superman would have connected with a lot more people than they would have thought.
Yeah, and Nicolas Cage was the perfect person to cast for that. I mean, he has that vulnerability, and he has that sort of alien quality, and yeah, I think it would have been amazing. I think you're absolutely right, too. I think that we are ready for something like that. So bring it on, is what I say.
So I really like the few choices of the way that the film turned on itself, the documentary, and how it was meta. The part where you're with Jon Peters and you actually let him take the phone call on film it was fantastic. It was so funny. And then the time when Tim Burton was sort of drawing the hair. How do you make those choices of where to put them in, and did you take some out?
Those are purely my choices as a director and editor and of comedy, and I felt like with the Jon Peters water drinking sequence, I started out editing Space Ghost Coast to Coast, so I kind of space ghosted that a little bit. So with that, I mean, Jon Peters was fantastic, and even when he was taking these calls, he was like, "Hey, you could put that in the movie, and just show that I'm working." And an earlier cut of that water drinking sequence was about 30 seconds longer, and I also had that, "Hey, you can see Jon Peters working right now," and it had a little bit extra of that. But I kind of split screened it, made it look like I was drinking water more than I was. But the phone call was all there.
That was more. There was more than one phone call, by the way. There were several phone calls during that interview. And at first, the first one, I had to stop and say, "All right, can we take that again?" And he's like, "That's just going to happen. I'm working. That's going to happen." So it was like, "All right, Jon Peters."
Yeah, he said you could work that into the movie. So I did, and the Tim Burton flourish with him, because we both gesticulate a lot. Like I gesticulate so much that Holly, while we were doing interviews, was like, "Stop moving your hand." Like I had to. You'll see me holding my knee in some of the scenes, because I talk with my hands too. So I was like, because of the way the cameras were, my hand would be in your face from the other angle. So,
it's hard to get around.
But with Tim, we were both talking. But the cameras are far enough where we were gesticulating, and I remember Holly was like, "You both gesticulate so much," and it's like there was one where Tim was describing the hair, and I was like, in my mind, I was like, that would be a great place to just drop some animation in.
Well, his hands were like paintbrushes. I mean, if you see his gesticulations, you can see, even without Jon putting the animation in there, you could see that stuff. So why not throw it in there? And it's one of those moments that it's just like, it's unexpected in the film. Yeah. But
and thank you, Smo, for doing that animation, and Parker Simmons and Sungu and everyone. Jason, there were so many people who contributed to the recreation scenes, and I tried doing it with a different creative spin, because obviously we didn't have millions of dollars. So I was like, let's do this as a stop motion thing. Let's do this as like a cool like animated tribute, or like, so it was kind of fun to try all these different styles. So that was kind of after we actually had assembled the entire film and had like a pretty good final cut of the film, was when I started to add that spice. But I had that written in there since probably 8-9 months ago. It was like animated sequence of Tim Burton gesticulating with the hair.
We all loved that idea too. The minute he announced it, we were like, yes, it's amazing.
Can you talk about one maybe that you didn't include?
Let's see. You know what? I was originally going to do a little bit more of an extended flying sequence. Like, we ended up going with an animated style, but originally I was going to shoot it live action and show him kind of jumping from building to building. And we were going to have a musical score, perhaps by a band that was going to do the soundtrack. So there was a few moments in there that one or two recreation scenes that I was like, no. So I was going to try to do a recreation scene of Luthiak, which was Kevin Spacey and Christopher Walken. Wow. So we had actually even like...
That would have been incredibly labor-intensive and very expensive. So that's one that got scrapped, unfortunately. And also, here's the other thing, too. I think we sort of like, you can't have Christopher Walken and you can't have Kevin Spacey. Anything you would try to do would pale in comparison. And we have all that great concept art, so why not just look at that and let the audience sort of imagine it for themselves?
We had to make those tough calls, because it was like, we even did tryouts for people who like could do Christopher Walken and Kevin Spacey. And even that was like, yeah, you know what? let's just let the artist talk, show the art, and then rock on. And any of the recreation scenes were like, let's visually show what they're talking about. So we kind of rolled with that.
I know you guys mentioned the budget a lot. Can you just briefly talk about the budget of the film overall, and then how you assembled your team on such that small budget?
Sure. Well, originally on Kickstarter, I was like thinking I could do it for $98,000. I thought it would only take 8 months. Obviously, it took way longer than that. We ran out of money. We were broke like about 4 or 5 times during the production. We ran another crowdfunder. We had a private investor come in. Another private investor came in. So it was like, literally, it was just like trying to be able to, pay for elements of the film. Sometimes we pay for camera stuff. We pay for this, we pay for that. It was like just keeping the wheels in motion, being able to pay for rent for the studio that we all worked in, to buy certain equipment, things like that. Ultimately ended up being a little over $300,000. And we're in debt right now, so it's like, it's great, and I thank everyone out there for actually buying the film at www.tdoslwh.com. Once again, that's tdoslwh.com. I know it's a mouthful, but it's The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, all kind of the first letter in the thing. So if you buy it, get a Blu-ray. It's got 10 hours of extra footage.
Oh.
Yeah, we got the DVD and we've got the digital downloads, but I want to emphasize, you get it because we're the independent filmmakers. We've put all the money out, and we're the ones who would get your money. It's not other companies getting it. You'd be helping us recoup the money that we spent so that you can enjoy this film and break even.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm really happy with too in the extras is that full interview with John Peters. It's about an hour long, and it's everything that didn't make it into the film. So if you enjoyed that, definitely check out the Super Pack download or the Blu-ray.
All right, guys.
Hey, what's going on?
It's going. I want to see Nicolas Cage as Superman. I know that we can't, but do you think it might be possible for someday maybe Nicolas Cage to voice himself in a Superman character of some maybe cartoon spin-off show, maybe Adult Swim territory?
Check it out. Like, I love the direction you're going in. I think that's a good idea because everyone keeps saying, why not make Superman Lives as a cartoon? And I say, why not make something brand new with Nicolas Cage as the voiceover of an amazing cartoon? That might happen, and I might have already pitched that as an idea, and that's why I'm agreeing with this man.
Yes.
I don't have anything to add to that, but I would love to say, seeing Nicolas Cage as Superman is something we all missed out on, and at least you can see the costume test footage in the film, and you can actually kind of get an idea of what he would have been as Superman. Anything with Nicolas Cage, I'm pretty much about. So get him in something, John. Do it.
We're going to work on it. Tell all your friends to see The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened. Go to Schnepp Zone at YouTube. You can watch the first 10 minutes. I'm just repeating myself now. Woo!
Over the years, can you tell us what your favorite Superman movie that has actually been made is?
Sure. My favorite Superman movie, bar all, is Superman 2. And that's got the Kryptonians. It's got kneel before Zod. It's got there's so many Planet Houston, so many amazing quotes. Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor. I love the Phantom Zone criminals. Terrence Stamp, and of course Christopher Reeve as Superman. It's like literally, and I like the Richard Donner cut better. I didn't like those humorous elements, and even as a kid, I didn't like when the guy's on the telephone and the wind is blowing. And those were made by Richard Lester and added later. So I like the more straightforward approach to Superman, that Superman 2 and the original Superman. I look at those as kind of one film. So
he totally stole mine, but I'm going to go fringe, and I'm going to say Confessions of a Superhero, which is a documentary all about the guys in front of the Grauman's Chinese Theater who dress up like superheroes, and it's all about their inner lives and what they do when they're, with their personal lives as those superheroes.
If you haven't seen that documentary, I think you can check it out on Netflix. Confessions of a Superhero. It's fantastic. I think I've seen it like 6 times. I love that because it's like we live in Hollywood and we walk by all those superheroes all the time. We say hi to them.
We walk by Superman almost every day.
Sometimes see the Hulk walking around sweating. It's like, so it's a tough job. So you guys should definitely contribute a couple dollars to those superheroes in Hollywood.
Absolutely. Was that documentary any kind of inspiration for you in making yours?
No, nothing at all. No, we love documentaries in general. I'm a big cineast. We watch movies all the time. So, film buff. So, documentaries, feature films, television, comic books, sweating it out,
Excellent. Oh, well, thank you guys so much. Honestly, I loved it. I'm Ryan Malaty here with Popcorn Talk. Check out The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened?
And don't forget, you can watch the first 10 minutes of The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened. Just go to Schnepp Zone on YouTube. It's Schnepp Zone. And just, subscribe while you're there, yo. And then you can immediately link to the movie and just immediately buy that. Thanks again.
I'm Kristen Snyder. You can follow me at Cinematic Escape, and you can follow the Popcorn Talk Network at the Popcorn Talk Network. Thanks, guys. Where can the fans follow you and keep up with what you're doing in the future?
Well, you guys can follow me at Jon Schnepp on Twitter and Instagram.
You can follow me at Holly K. Payne, that's Payne, and also you can follow our movie at TDOSLWH.
TDO.
Say it 5 times fast.
TDOSLWH. TDOSLWH. TDOSLWH.
TDOSLWH.
TDOSLWH. TDOSLWH.
TDOSLWH.
Great.